There are moments in life when we experience loss, when people walk away, when we are left standing in the silence of absence. It's easy to feel abandoned or rejected when someone leaves, whether it's a friend, a loved one, or a colleague. But I want you to understand something powerful. Their replacement is from God. You see, when one door closes, it's not the end of your story. It's simply the beginning of something greater. People may come and go, but God's purpose for your life does not change. He has already prepared the people, the opportunities, and the breakthroughs that will elevate you to the next level. The truth is, the right people will never walk away from your life until God has something better for you. Some of you may have experienced heartbreak, betrayal, or the painful realization that someone you trusted has left your life. But let me tell you something, God is not in the business of taking away without replacing. When someone walks away, it may seem like a loss, but in God's hands, it's a divine exchange. What you lose is never greater than what He is about to bring into your life. Understand that replacement does not always mean someone new will immediately fill the space of the person who left. It could be a season of preparation, a season where you learn, grow, and become the person ready for the new relationships, new opportunities, and new blessings. God is shaping you, molding you, and equipping you to handle what's coming next. In your journey, you will encounter seasons of isolation. You will face moments when you wonder if you will ever find the right people again. But know this, God never leaves you without provision. He never abandons you to fend for yourself. The people who will come into your life will be sent by God, aligned with His purpose for you. They will not be random. They will be carefully chosen to fulfill a divine purpose in your life. God's timing is perfect. He knows what you need even when you don't. When a person walks away, it's because that relationship has fulfilled its purpose, or it's because that person is no longer aligned with your destiny. But rest assured, God has someone, perhaps several people, who are ready to step in and help you move forward. So when you face a loss or encounter a setback, do not mourn as those without hope. Know that the replacement is already on the way. God's plans for you are far beyond your understanding, and His ability to bring the right people into your life at the right time is unmatched. Trust that your destiny is secure, that your future is bright, and that the people who will walk with you in this next season are handpicked by God. Your replacement is not just someone who will fill a void, it's someone who will lift you higher, someone who will challenge you to become more, someone who will align with your purpose and add value to your life in ways you never imagined. When you trust God's process, you will see that every loss is a setup for something better, something greater, and something aligned with your divine calling. Hold on to that promise today. Their replacement is from God. And what He brings into your life will be beyond what you could ever dream or imagine. Trust in His plan and know that He has not left you without provision. Your best is yet to come. When people walk away from your life, it may seem like you are facing an overwhelming loss. It's easy to feel as if your world is falling apart or that something vital has been taken from you. The absence of someone important can leave a space that feels empty, a silence that echoes in your heart. However, it's important to understand that this is not the end of your journey. The fact that someone is no longer part of your life does not mean you are at the conclusion of your purpose or that your destiny has been interrupted. In fact, it may very well be the beginning of something even greater. God, in His infinite wisdom, allows things to change and people to move out of your life, but He does so with the full understanding of what is to come. The pain you feel from loss can cloud your vision, but you must remember that every transition in life is part of God's divine plan for you. When one door closes, another is already open. You may not see it immediately, but the space that is created by someone's departure is often the very space God uses to bring something greater into your life. Perhaps it's not even about the person who left. Maybe it's about you growing into the person who will be ready for what's next. It's easy to get stuck in the idea that someone leaving means a permanent void, but in reality, that void is merely a place for something more in line with God's purpose for you to come and fill. This is why loss should never be seen as a final blow. It's simply a step in the process of what God is doing behind the scenes. Even in moments of heartache or confusion, God is at work, rearranging your life in ways that will allow you to experience more growth, more opportunities, and ultimately more alignment with His perfect plan for you. The people who leave might not be able to take the journey with you into the next phase of your life, But that doesn't mean your story is over. It just means that you are about to enter a new chapter, and the characters in that chapter are being carefully placed by God, those who will help elevate you to your divine destiny. So when you feel the sting of loss, remind yourself that it is not the end. It is just a transition, and God is preparing the way for something better. He never leaves you without provision. He never takes away something without preparing something greater in its place. The loss you experience today is just setting the stage for the next step of your journey, where you will encounter new people, new opportunities, and new blessings that are more aligned with the purpose He has ordained for you. When someone leaves your life, it's easy to feel as if you've been abandoned or left behind. But what you must understand is that the departure of people is not just a loss, it's a divine replacement. God does not allow things to be taken away from you without preparing something better in its place. Often we may find ourselves grieving over what was lost, unable to see the bigger picture that God is painting for us. But in His wisdom and infinite grace, God always has a plan to replace what was lost, and His replacements are always aligned with His purpose for your life. You may not see it immediately, but the moment something or someone leaves, it is because God is creating space for something better to enter. It could be a new relationship, a new opportunity, or even a new phase of personal growth. While you may feel like something precious has been taken from you, trust that what is to come will far exceed what you have lost. You see, God's replacements are never random. They are divinely orchestrated. God knows exactly what you need, even when you don't. He is the ultimate provider, and when something or someone walks out of your life, it's because He is preparing something or someone to walk into it, something that is aligned with your divine purpose and calling. We sometimes find ourselves holding on to things or people who are no longer meant to be in our lives. We become attached to what we know, even when it's not serving us or fulfilling God's purpose for us. But God, in His infinite love, will allow certain things to leave because He knows that they are no longer in alignment with the direction He is leading you. These moments may feel painful, but they are an essential part of the process of preparation for what's next. It is not a punishment, but a preparation. The replacement that God has for you will not only fit you better, but will also move you closer to your destiny. It will challenge you in ways that help you grow, encourage you to step into your purpose, and elevate you to new heights that you would not have reached if you had stayed in your current situation. God's replacements are always better because they are tailor-made for the next season of your life. They are designed to push you into greater alignment with His will, bring new blessings into your life, and propel you toward the future He has planned for you. This divine replacement is something that should give you hope, not despair. It's a promise that when one thing leaves, something better is on the way. Your journey is not over. It is merely a transition from one phase to another, one that will eventually lead you to a place of greater fulfillment and purpose. Trust that God's replacements are always better, always aligned with His plan, and always meant to take you further than you could ever imagine. The people who come into your life are never just random individuals. They are part of a divine plan placed in your path to help you fulfill your purpose. Each person you meet has a role to play in your journey, whether they stay for a season or remain for a lifetime. This is an important truth to grasp, especially when people leave your life. When someone walks away, it is not because they were unimportant or irrelevant, but because their role in your journey has been fulfilled. God has carefully chosen the people who will help you grow, challenge you, and guide you toward your divine purpose. These relationships are never by chance. They are strategically placed by God to align with the next phase of your destiny. You may not always understand the reasons behind the people who come and go, but one thing is certain: God is using them to help shape and mold you into the person you were meant to be. Sometimes you may find that the people who have entered your life have taught you lessons, opened doors, or helped you grow in ways that you couldn't have done on your own. These are the people sent by God to help you navigate challenges, discover your strengths, and even reveal the areas in which you need to improve. God will place people in your life who will be a source of encouragement, wisdom, and support, helping you walk through seasons of uncertainty and difficulty. However, as you grow and evolve, so too must your relationships. Some people may not be able to walk with you into the next phase of your life. They may have been sent to teach you specific lessons, but now it's time for new people to step in. This is part of the divine process. Those who are meant to remain in your life will continue to be a part of your journey, but those who have fulfilled their purpose will step aside to make room for the next wave of people who will help you move forward. This is not something to mourn, it's something to celebrate, because it means that God is aligning your life for greater things. These new people will not only fill the space left behind, but they will also bring a new dimension of growth, perspective, and blessing into your life. They will challenge you in ways that will help you move closer to your calling. They will encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and take risks you never thought possible. They will inspire you to see the world and yourself in a new light, pushing you to live with purpose and intentionality. These are the people who will help elevate you to the next level, bring out the best in you, and help you realize the potential you may not even know you have. So when someone leaves, know that it is not a loss, but a preparation for something greater. The people who are meant to walk alongside you in the next chapter of your life are already being prepared by God. They are not just replacements, they are divine connections designed to bring you closer to your purpose. Trust that the people who are meant to be in your life will arrive at the right time, and they will play a significant role in the fulfillment of the plan God has for you. As you embrace this truth, you'll begin to see the beauty in every relationship, knowing that God is always placing the right people at the right time to align with your destiny. There are seasons in life when it feels like you are walking alone, as if the people who once supported or walked with you have disappeared, and you're left wondering why. During these moments, the isolation can feel like a heavy weight, as if you've been left behind or abandoned. But it is in these moments of solitude that God is often doing his most important work in your life. Isolation is not a punishment or an indication of something going wrong. Instead, it is often a necessary season of preparation. It is during these times when God is refining you, strengthening your character, and preparing you for what's next. God allows you to go through periods of isolation because he knows that in those quiet, still moments, you will find clarity, focus, and strength to step into your next chapter. When there is no one around, you are forced to confront yourself, to learn who you truly are when no one is watching, when no one else's opinions matter. You are given the space to hear from God in ways you couldn't if you were distracted by the noise of others. Isolation is a time to align your thoughts, to work on your personal growth, and to strengthen your relationship with God. You are forced to depend on him in ways that would not happen if others were around. It's during these moments that God often molds you into the person you need to be for the next season of your life. It's not that you're abandoned, it's that God is preparing you for something greater, something that you may not even be able to comprehend yet. Think of the great leaders, thinkers, and change makers of history. Many of them experienced significant times of isolation before they were able to step into their purpose. These periods were not times of weakness, but times of strengthening. It is during these seasons of solitude that God reveals new aspects of your calling, refines your purpose, and equips you for the people and opportunities that are coming into your life. You might not see it at the moment, but God is using these quiet times to fortify you for what lies ahead. In isolation, you begin to learn more about your own strengths, your dreams, and even your weaknesses. God uses this time to highlight the areas where you need healing, where you need growth, and where you need to take action. It's a time to get real with yourself, to take stock of what you've learned so far, and to ask God to prepare you for the new relationships, opportunities, and challenges that are coming. If you rush out of isolation too quickly or resist it, you may miss the lessons that God wants to teach you. The person you become in isolation will be the person who is ready to face the challenges of the next season and take advantage of the divine opportunities that come with it. Remember, isolation is not meant to break you, it is meant to build you. It is during these quiet times that you can find the answers you've been seeking, the strength you've been lacking, and the clarity you've been praying for. Trust that God has not forgotten you. He has not left you. In fact, it's precisely in these moments of apparent loneliness that he is closest to you, preparing you for something greater. The isolation you feel today is simply the waiting room for the greater things God is preparing you for tomorrow. When the time is right, he will bring the right people, opportunities, and breakthroughs into your life. But until then, embrace the isolation, knowing that it is in the stillness that God works his most powerful transformations in you. When we experience loss, whether it's the departure of a person, a situation that no longer serves us, or an opportunity that falls through, it is natural to feel a sense of grief and emptiness. But in every loss, there is a divine exchange happening that we may not immediately see. God never allows us to experience loss without also preparing us for something greater. In fact, God often uses loss as a catalyst for greater growth and breakthrough. It is in these moments of letting go, of releasing what is no longer meant for us, that we create the space for God to bring something better into our lives. The empty spaces that we feel, the places that seem void of joy or purpose, are often the very spaces where God is waiting to move in and fill with something far more aligned with His plans for us. When people or things leave your life, remember that God doesn't operate in a vacuum. He's not leaving you to struggle in the absence of what was once there. Instead, He's allowing the process of removal to create room for the new blessings, relationships, and opportunities that are waiting to manifest. You may feel the pain and disappointment of the loss, but those feelings should not cloud your understanding that God's timing is perfect. He is not taking away from you. He is positioning you for something greater, something that will serve you in the next season of your life in ways you can't yet comprehend. Loss is not a sign of abandonment. It is often a sign of transition. God understands the deeper desires of your heart, the desires for peace, fulfillment, and alignment with your true purpose, and He knows that holding on to certain things or people may prevent you from stepping fully into what He has in store for you. There are times when God has to remove what is comfortable, what is familiar, and even what feels like a support, because He knows that you are about to step into something far better, something that will fulfill you in ways you've never experienced before. Holding on to what is no longer serving you will only keep you from the blessings that God is preparing for you. This is why when loss comes, it is important to trust the process. You might not understand why it happened or why it had to happen now, but you can trust that God's plan is always greater than your own. He is not taking from you. He is making space in your life for the right people, the right circumstances, and the right opportunities to arrive at the appointed time. Sometimes the things you thought were essential to your happiness or success are actually the very things preventing you from moving forward into the fullness of what God has prepared for you. It's easy to get caught up in the mourning of what has been lost, but trust in God's ability to replace, renew, and restore. The void you feel today is not permanent. It is merely the space where the new things will come to life. When God removes one thing, it is always to make room for what is in His perfect will for you. The blessing on the other side of loss will always outweigh what was taken. You may not see it right now, but as you look back, you will realize that the things God removed were merely the preparation for something far greater, something that will bring you closer to your destiny. God is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating things in a way that you cannot fully understand in the moment. But when you trust in His plan, when you embrace the loss as part of His divine strategy, you will find that the replacement He has for you is far better than anything you could have imagined. Keep your eyes open for the new blessings, the new opportunities, and the new relationships that will fill the space left behind. It is not the end. It is simply the beginning of something greater, something God has already prepared for you. Sometimes in our lives, we encounter people who seem to disappear or walk away at a moment when we need them the most. It's as if they were once so close, playing a significant role in our lives, but for reasons unknown to us, they fade away or distance themselves. In these moments, we often feel hurt, betrayed, or confused, questioning why this person has left or why the relationship has dissolved. But in these situations, we must remember that God is never caught by surprise. When people leave, whether through choice or circumstance, it is not an accident. In fact, it's part of the divine design. God's hand is moving in ways that we cannot always see or understand, yet His wisdom is far greater than our own. There are moments in life when God allows people to leave because they no longer serve His purpose for us, or because they are not aligned with the next phase of our destiny. This doesn't mean they were bad people, nor does it diminish the value of the experiences and lessons they brought to your life. People enter our lives for different reasons, some for a season, others for a lifetime. But just because someone has been a part of your journey for a time doesn't mean they are meant to be there forever. There are seasons in our lives when we must grow, expand, and move forward, and often that requires God to remove certain people who would otherwise hold us back. When God removes someone from your life, it is not out of malice or indifference. Instead, He is creating space for the right people to step in, people who will support, encourage, and guide you to your purpose, people who are in alignment with where God is taking you. The ones who leave might have been necessary at one point, but when they exit, God's plan is not derailed. It is merely being redirected toward greater things. Sometimes we become attached to people in ways that cause us to become blind to the fact that they may no longer be the right people for us. We hold on to relationships that have run their course because of fear, comfort, or familiarity. But when God moves them out of our lives, it is not a moment of abandonment, it is a moment of liberation. He is removing those who would either keep us stagnant or distract us from His greater plan. You see, the truth is, the relationships that God intends to last will remain, they will not falter, and they will not be easily broken. The ones that leave, or the ones that were meant to exit, were never going to be the ones who would help you reach your divine potential. The departure of certain individuals is a sign that God is making room for those who will walk beside you in the new season of your life. These new relationships will not only be more supportive, but will also help you grow in ways that are necessary for your future. It is often when people leave that we start to see who truly cares for us, who is truly invested in our growth, and who is truly in alignment with our divine purpose. These are the people who will not leave when things get tough, but will instead help you rise to greater heights. It is natural to mourn the loss of relationships that once meant so much to us, but we must also trust that God's plans are far more extensive than the relationships we hold on to. He is moving us toward better, toward more, toward the people who will help us build the future He has prepared for us. Trust in God's timing and wisdom, knowing that when one person exits, He is clearing the way for someone even more aligned with your destiny to step in. The people who leave today may be the very catalyst for the new connections, opportunities, and blessings that are just around the corner. When you can accept that God's plans involve the departure of some people, you open yourself up to the fulfillment of His promises, allowing Him to place exactly who and what you need in your life at the right time. There are times in life when you will feel like you've done everything right, when you've worked tirelessly, remained faithful, and poured your heart into your efforts, only to see little to no return. It's in these moments of frustration, where the reward seems so distant and the breakthrough so elusive, that God is often doing His most important work behind the scenes. The journey to your breakthrough isn't always a straight path. It can be filled with obstacles, setbacks, and seasons of waiting, but it is in the waiting that God is setting the stage for the grand reveal of what He's been working on in your life. We often look at our efforts and expect immediate results, but God's timing is not our timing. His process is often much slower, but it's always much more thorough and detailed, designed with a purpose that transcends our immediate understanding. When God delays your breakthrough, it is not a sign of rejection or a lack of effort on your part. It is often a sign of divine preparation. You may feel as though the promise He gave you is taking too long to materialize, but it is in this delay that God is preparing you to handle the blessing. If God were to release everything you're asking for right now, you might not be able to manage it or even recognize the blessing for what it is. God knows that the preparation process is just as important as the promise itself. He knows that the person you are becoming during this waiting period is going to be able to steward the breakthrough in a way that will bring the most glory to Him and the most growth to you. In moments of delay, you might feel like giving up, but it's important to remember that the delay is not the end of your story. It's simply a detour that leads you to the place where your destiny can be fully realized. Just because you can't see the results right now doesn't mean they aren't coming. Just because the promise hasn't arrived doesn't mean it's not on the way. God is working things out behind the scenes in ways that you cannot see. And what He is building in you now will be the very foundation on which your breakthrough will stand. When it comes, you'll realize that the waiting period wasn't wasted. It was a time of refining, of growth, and of equipping. God knows the depth of your desires and the strength of your heart. He knows what you are capable of, and He is positioning you for the kind of breakthrough that will elevate you, bless you, and bring you closer to the purpose He has designed for you. Sometimes the delay allows God to remove distractions, rearrange people and circumstances, and align everything in your life so that when the breakthrough finally comes, it will be undeniable and unshakable. There will be no doubt in your mind that God was in control of every step along the way. It's crucial to understand that God's delays are not denials. His timing is always perfect, and although you may not see the progress you expected, you can trust that the work He is doing in your life is foundational for the greater things that lie ahead. Delays often come with the benefit of teaching patience, perseverance, and trust in God's faithfulness. They help you develop the strength you need to handle what is about to be entrusted to you. During the waiting period, God is strengthening your character, expanding your faith, and giving you the wisdom necessary to manage your future success. So, if you're in a season of waiting, if you're wondering why the breakthrough hasn't come yet, take heart. Trust that God is working on your behalf. His delay is not a reflection of your worth or effort. It is a reflection of His divine preparation. He is making you ready for the breakthrough, and when it comes, it will be worth the wait. You will see that the season of waiting was not wasted, but was instead a season of divine alignment, growth, and preparation for the incredible things that God has in store for you. Trust the process, stay faithful, and know that God's timing is always perfect. The breakthrough is coming, and it will be everything He promised and more. When we are faced with challenges or confrontations, it's easy to feel like we have to fight back, defend ourselves, or prove our worth. We naturally want to stand up for ourselves, especially when we feel misunderstood, mistreated, or wronged. But God's ways are often different from our own, and His solution is not always to engage in the battle ourselves. In fact, there are times when God wants us to remain still and trust that He is working on our behalf, handling the situation in a way that we cannot comprehend. When God is ready to move on our behalf, He doesn't need our interference. He simply needs our trust and obedience. One of the most powerful revelations we can have is the understanding that God will fight our battles for us. There's a spiritual truth that is far greater than our natural instinct to take matters into our own hands. God's plans and methods are always better than ours. When we feel attacked, slandered, or unfairly treated, it's easy to want to retaliate, but the Bible tells us that vengeance belongs to God, not us. When we try to take revenge, we are often doing more harm than good, creating more division and keeping ourselves stuck in a cycle of bitterness. But when we allow God to take control, He handles the situation with a level of justice and wisdom that we cannot match. There's an incredible peace that comes from knowing that God is in control and that He has the power to handle the situation on our behalf. When we release the need to control the outcome, we allow God to step in and work behind the scenes in ways that we could never accomplish on our own. God fights battles that we cannot see, fighting against the forces that work in the spiritual realm, protecting us from harm and redirecting situations for our good. This is why we are told in Scripture to be still and know that He is God. When we are still, when we let go of our desire for control, we create space for God to work in ways that are beyond our understanding. God fights for us by often intervening in ways that change the hearts of those who oppose us, shifting their attitudes and perspectives. He can soften hearts, open minds, and change circumstances in an instant. We may not see the immediate result of this intervention, but in His perfect timing, God will bring about a resolution that serves His greater purpose. When we step back and allow God to do the work, we allow His will to be done in ways that we could never orchestrate ourselves. He doesn't just fight the battle for us, He ensures that the outcome is one that aligns with His divine plan for our lives. Furthermore, when God fights our battles, He also prepares us for the future. He uses these situations to refine our character, to teach us lessons that will make us stronger, more resilient, and more dependent on Him. These battles are not just external, they are also internal, shaping us into the individuals we are meant to be. By choosing to trust in God's ability to handle our battles, we demonstrate our faith in His power and His love for us. We release our need to control the situation and instead place our trust in the One who knows all things and holds all power. God's fight for us is not always in the form of immediate deliverance. Sometimes the battle is about our own hearts and minds, learning to trust Him more fully. Sometimes the battle is fought in the unseen places, where God is shifting circumstances behind the scenes to bring about the right results. But one thing is certain: when we trust God to fight our battles, He never fails. He will always win, and we will always be victorious in Him. In the end, the battle belongs to the Lord, and it is His victory that we share. When we step back and trust Him to fight for us, we create space for God to move in ways that we cannot imagine, and He brings about outcomes that far exceed our expectations. We do not have to fight every battle. God will fight the battles that are meant to be fought, and he will ensure that the victory is his and through him ours as well. There will be moments in life when everything seems to be falling apart. You may feel like you've been rejected, overlooked, or even abandoned by the people you once considered important in your life. It may feel as though everything you work for, everything you invested in is slipping through your fingers, and you find yourself questioning what went wrong. But it is in these very moments of loss and rejection that you must understand that God is preparing something better for you. The very people, the very things that you feel have let you down may be the ones who are unwittingly making way for God's greater plan for your life. Rejection in God's hands becomes a divine redirection. When you experience rejection, it is important to remember that God's will is not always aligned with our desires in the moment. We may want certain people to stay in our lives, to be a part of our journey, but sometimes God knows that they are not the right fit for the next season of our lives. In those moments, God is not punishing us or taking something good away from us. He is strategically removing obstacles, distractions, and even people who could hold us back from walking into our full potential. Rejection, in this context, is God's way of making room for the right people, people who will love us the way we need to be loved, people who will support us, encourage us, and push us closer to the purpose He has placed on our lives. It's easy to take rejection personally, to internalize the hurt and the pain of being cast aside, but we must see it from a higher perspective. God's plan is far greater than what we can comprehend. We can't see what lies ahead, but God does. He knows the relationships, the opportunities, and the people who are going to help us grow, challenge us, and move us forward. And sometimes the people who leave our lives are the very ones who would have kept us from receiving the very thing that God wants to give us. Rejection can often feel like a blow to our ego, but it is an opportunity for divine redirection. When people walk away or turn their backs on us, God is not allowing us to be left behind. Instead, He is making way for those who are better suited for the path we are meant to walk. We may not understand it in the moment, but what seems like a loss is often a blessing in disguise. God is aligning us with those who are better able to walk in alignment with our destiny, people who will lift us up, not bring us down, people who will push us to become the best version of ourselves. There is also a spiritual truth in the rejection that we must embrace. Rejection often serves as a reminder that our ultimate approval and validation do not come from others, but from God. When people reject us, it can cause us to question our worth and value, but the truth is, our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. God's love for us is unconditional, and His plans for us are unshakable. When we experience rejection, we must remind ourselves that God's approval is all we need. His plan will not be thwarted by the opinions of man. His hand is on our lives, and He will lead us to the people and places where we will flourish. Moreover, rejection serves as a reminder that God is our ultimate provider. He is the one who meets all of our needs, whether those needs are emotional, relational, or spiritual. If a relationship ends or a connection falls apart, God is not leaving us empty-handed. He is providing exactly what we need to continue moving forward. The people who leave may not have been able to give us the love, support, or encouragement that we need, but God will supply us with exactly what we require. He is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating the events of our lives to bring about His perfect will. So when you feel rejected, when you feel abandoned, take a step back and trust in God's greater plan. Recognize that He is not allowing you to be left without. He is preparing something better for you, something greater than what you may have thought you lost. Remember that God's redirection is His protection. His removal of certain people from your life is not a sign of failure, but a sign of divine alignment with the purpose He has for you. And as you walk forward, know that God is with you, guiding you every step of the way and preparing you for the incredible blessings and relationships that lie ahead. Rejection in the hands of God is not defeat. It is simply a redirection to something better, something greater, something that aligns with the destiny He has designed for you. As we go through life, we often find ourselves navigating through seasons of loss, betrayal, and disappointment. It can be incredibly painful when people we trust, people we have invested in, walk away or cause us harm. In these moments, it's easy to feel as though everything is lost, as though there is no hope, and that our future has been severely compromised. However, it's in these exact moments that God's promise shines the brightest. God is never caught off guard by our pain or the betrayals we face. He uses these experiences to reveal a deeper truth that no matter what we lose, God always has a plan to restore, replace, and position us for something better. God is not just a God of provision in times of abundance, He is also a God of restoration in times of loss. When something or someone leaves our lives, it can feel like a vacuum, as if we are empty and missing something crucial. But in reality, God is making space for something far more significant, something far more aligned with our destiny. He is positioning us for the next step in our journey, preparing us for the people, the opportunities, and the circumstances that will propel us forward. In the Bible, we see time and again how God takes moments of loss and turns them into moments of abundance. We see it in the life of Job, who lost everything but was restored with even more than he had before. God can take what seems like devastation and bring a greater blessing from it. His ways are higher than ours, and His timing is perfect. What we perceive as a setback is often a setup for something greater. When people leave, when we face disappointment, we must remember that God is the one who fills every void. He is the one who brings restoration in ways that we can't predict. We may not understand it in the moment, but He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating a divine replacement that aligns with His perfect plan for our lives. God's provision is not just about giving us back what we lost. It's about giving us what is best for us in that moment, what we truly need to move forward. Sometimes the replacements that come into our lives are not the people we thought we needed, but they are the ones who will bring out the best in us, challenge us to grow, and help us fulfill the purpose we were created for. God knows what we need long before we do, and when He removes something or someone from our lives, it's because He has a greater plan in store. At the same time, it's important to recognize that the replacement God has for us is often not immediate. There may be a period of time where we feel the emptiness, where we wonder how we'll ever move forward or find peace again. But in those moments of waiting, God is doing something in us. He is refining us, preparing us for the next chapter. The replacement is not just about filling a void, it's about equipping us for what is to come. And in this process, we are learning to trust God more deeply, to lean on Him rather than on people or things, and to become the person He has always intended for us to be. God's replacements are always purposeful. They are not random. They are not accidental. They are carefully crafted and designed to align with His will for our lives. When God replaces something or someone in your life, it's because He knows that this new season will position you for a higher level of growth, a deeper understanding of His love, and a greater alignment with your destiny. The people He brings into your life, the opportunities that arise, and the circumstances that unfold will help you fulfill the greater purpose He has placed in your heart. It's also crucial to understand that God's replacements often come in the form of new relationships, new opportunities, and new strengths that we didn't know we possessed. In the absence of what was lost, we may discover talents, wisdom, and a resilience within us that we never realized we had. These replacements are not just external, they are internal as well. God is not just replacing what we lost, He is strengthening us, building our character, and equipping us for what lies ahead. Therefore, when we face loss or disappointment, we must not despair. Instead, we should look to God, trusting that He will always provide the perfect replacement in His perfect timing. It may not happen immediately, and it may not look like what we expected, but it will always be exactly what we need. God's provision and replacement are not just about restoring what was lost, they are about positioning us for the future He has designed for us. And in the end, we will see that the replacements He brings into our lives are far better than what we could have ever imagined on our own. In times of loss, rejection, and disappointment, it's essential to hold on to the truth that God's plan is far greater than anything we can see or understand in the moment. He is not only aware of our pain, but He is also actively working behind the scenes to bring about His perfect plan for our lives. What we perceive as loss, God uses as an opportunity to make space for something greater, something that aligns perfectly with our destiny. His replacements are never random or accidental. They are purposeful, divine redirections that align us with the future He has prepared for us. So when faced with moments of rejection, when people or circumstances seem to fall apart, trust that God is at work. He is not leaving us empty-handed, but instead, He is positioning us for a season of growth, restoration, and greater blessings. Let us embrace this truth that every person and every experience in our lives plays a part in God's greater purpose. And when one door closes, we can be assured that God is already opening a better one that will lead us to greater joy, fulfillment, and alignment with His perfect will. Trust in the process, for God's replacement is always better than what we lost.